starting take two in 3, 2, 1, go! Well, welcome to Take Two, everybody. Yeah, that is right. Ronnie and I are back for yet another episode of the program as we, I believe there's a countdown. Yeah, a countdown as we edge ever so closer to the, 300th episode show. This is not the 300th episode. We're going to get Ronnie making it official in just a moment. That's right. She announces it, pulls that little index card out of an envelope and, reads it to us. We'll find that out in just a hot moment. But yeah, hey, Ronnie, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Very
Except
good.
for the heat.
Yeah, except for, see, very, very, very vague. You heard that. Except for the heat. Yeah, she does the show in 150-degree temperature, in a sauna, in other words. So she has a personal sauna in her studio, in other words, that happens to work very well. If those of you that are watching can see, sweat drips off of her pretty little face. But yes, she has a sauna. Well, to each their own. She could handle the military. She can handle a little sweat. Although I would rather her do the show in comfort, of course, but. Yeah,
I'm killing two birds with one stone.
I guess so. Yeah, like I said, you have a sauna. You have a You have a sauna in your studio. Exactly. But yes, we're here for yet another episode of the show. Glad to be here. Glad to have each and every one of you taking the time to tune in. As I stated before, we do have a great episode for you. Facebook news, of course. As we've been waiting a bit over a week, speculation. They've been teasing us. What's this big news? Well, we're going to let you know in just a bit. Let me plug the network, though. Those of you tuned in right now, if you'd be so kind, as the great listeners tuned in, please visit www.vonthenet.com. That's right, the Voices on the Net network's website, where you will be able to find more information regarding the Voices on the Net network. Yeah, if you need some information, a guide, letting you know about this network, just go up to the top of the website. You'll see an About link. You click it. It will take you to a web page providing you everything you need to know about this very network here. Now, you could also check out podcasts of any of the episodes from any of the shows, and they're all available on demand for at your very own convenience. So a lot of shows, a lot of content, articles, my blog. It's all at www.vonthenet.com. All right, so that is right. We're back for yet another episode. The countdown continues. Ronnie's going to make it official right now. So reach into that envelope over there and let us know, Ronnie, what episode we've arrived at. Yeah.
We've landed on episode 294.
There you go. Episode number 294. As we edge ever so closer, it is in sight clearly, and wow, we're approaching the top 10 countdown, or the final 10, or the final 10, final 5 before we reached the 300th show. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool. But glad to be here nonetheless. We have a great show planned for everybody and so forth. But yeah, Ronnie, we've got some news regarding Facebook here. And this has been the case over the last week. People have been speculating, wondering what Facebook was going to be doing. We haven't been talking about it over the last week. We haven't. No, we haven't. There have been a lot of other things that have been on the itinerary, but it has been in the back of our minds. We can't not talk about this, though, because the update is here. They have let us know what the deal is, what they're what they have been focusing on, what they've been integrating, what they're going to be integrating, and all of that. Facebook has announced that they're adding Skype to their service. Yes, we know Skype, a very popular video chat program that allows you to basically webcam with anybody that has an internet connection in the Skype program, and it works extremely well. We use Skype here on the network. Ronnie is Skyping in, and she looks literally like there's no video, like there's no lag latency whatsoever. It's pretty great. Skype is joining Facebook, though. They announced earlier today their partnership with Skype. And, of course, after a week of speculation, people were wondering what the big news was. As a matter of fact, even though with Skype being, added to the Facebook service, a lot of people were underwhelmed. They weren't necessarily, wow, ooh, People were assuming even before the this past week, well, Facebook has to add a video chat feature eventually, right?
Yeah, but how many people already have it without actually being on Facebook? You can go onto Facebook and talk, of course, to people, and it's going to fill up your entire screen. I can understand why they're adding it because of Google Plus. But most of the people that I know that are on Facebook, as far as my friend list, already are on Skype.
Well, yeah,
it's not really a big change,
right? You bring up a good point. Why? It's not that hard to have Skype open down in your taskbar, and anybody that's your friend on Facebook can simply download and install the program, and boom, you can video chat with them. Now, this is simply in case in point. You brought up Google Plus, how they have initially added a video chat feature to their service, so Facebook had to compete with that. So while it may not be the biggest necessity out there, it's easier for people to simply click on to one of their friends, click the call button, and that's it. They don't have to use the secondary program. Are there other things they probably could have added? Absolutely, but they are focusing on Google Plus. They are, because this seems like it's an actual competitor to Facebook, actual competitor that could do some could make some noise. Google Plus. There's a lot of great features. I am not a part of their beta. We don't do a tech show here on the network as of right now, so I really didn't feel the absolute necessity to join Google Plus. If there was a tech show going on, I absolutely I would want to have a first-hand look. But I've literally read all about it and how some of the great features that Google Plus has to offer, as compared to Facebook, of course, and how they're really combating what Facebook has to offer in terms of features, because Facebook has just surpassed in their announcement. They announced 750 million users. We had stated about a week ago on the show they broke the 750 million user mark, but now it's official. They've announced it, so clearly they have a stranglehold on the amount of users as compared to Google Plus, saying that they're new.
Yeah.
But don't count them out because of that number, because Google's a very powerful name. Very powerful name.
So I wonder if we should expect something every other week from Facebook or Google, because it seems like they're in this battlefield together. I'll see you when and raise you. And of course, we're going to benefit from that. So what else can they give us?
Right. Well, the thing is, and just like anything else, when you're competing with somebody else, you want to be better than them. That's the goal, usually. Mm-hmm. But it would also seem, as we see it, that there are a lot of things that are similar between the two.
Yeah.
It looks, Google Plus arguably looks exactly like Facebook. It does. Then again, what should a social networking service look like? You look at MySpace, you look at Facebook, you look at Google Plus, you look at any other social networking site. MySpace was obviously more glitzy and so forth. Facebook came along, made it cleaner, but it was still the same concept. So Google Plus, what were they going to choose between MySpace and Facebook in terms of a design? They're not going to go the route MySpace went. They're going to go the route Facebook went if they're going to focus on a design, and then they're going to tweak it to add that unique feel as best they can, clearly. So, with the announcement, though, of Skype, a week after speculation and so forth, this new chat feature will show up slowly on people's profiles. You'll notice a call button on certain people's profiles and then maybe not on yours. Over time, it'll start to implement and it'll start to be more, integrated into this service and so forth. And it allows you to quickly video chat with any of your friends, which clearly is a tool that's going to be used a lot. I mean, Facebook has the social aspect down pat in terms of the ease of use and messaging other people. But video has always been in question because they didn't have that feature. Now they do. Now Facebook wants to take it all. They want, even though Google's in it, they want to take it all. Google's such a big name, such a powerful name.
Yeah.
Facebook wants to literally take Google's head and smash it with their boot. That's what they want to do. They would love to do that.
It's a fight for the winner here.
It is.
But now, if you already have Skype on your computer, is this going to be a different format? Is it going to be attached to the Skype that you have? And are you going to be able to delay as to who you want on there?
It's just an add-on. That's all it is. It's going to be an add-on. Well, it's going to be an internal add-on, in other words. That's what Facebook is going to do. So, no, it's not going to necessarily be attached to the external program. It's going to be an internal feature. It's utilizing the Skype name. It's utilizing the Skype program, but within Facebook. All right, so it's going to be an internal feature that Facebook offers to you that happens to use the Skype name. That's a better way of putting it. You're still going to be able to use your program, Skype program, and so forth, with your own username. But when it has to do with the Facebook version of it, it's going to be your name, your Facebook name, and your Facebook profile, and all of that implemented into just that portion. Your Facebook profile and your Facebook friends are not going to be added to your other program because there's no connection between the two. There's no, unless you connect your email address to your Skype, the external program, and somehow, there's no connection there.
Good, because I don't want to slow it down any more than what it already was. But I don't really know if I would use the Facebook on, the Skype on.
Why
Facebook.
wouldn't you?
Well, I try not to go. Every time I go on there, I get bombarded. So all the windows will start opening, and you get all these people want to talk to you.
I just want to know why you wouldn't use it first off, when you could close the external Skype program, because more than likely anybody that's on your Skype list is friends with you on Facebook. You can kill two birds with one stone by closing the Skype window and have Skype opened in Facebook and utilize it there.
Well, my private one, the one that I have open right now, is my private one to where there's only certain people that are on there. Some of my classmates, those that I actually associate with every single day. So I don't really associate with a whole lot of people on Facebook. I might make up a post here and there. There's a few that I actually know personally that are on my Facebook. But they're already on my main Skype, so.
Oh, well. A lot of people are going to take what Facebook has announced with glory. Even though there were quite a few that were underwhelmed by this news, they're going to take this with glory. And they're going to utilize this tool quite a bit. I'm going to tell you, this is something that even before this past week, when people were speculating, they were wondering what was going to occur. Months before, years before, the people were saying, "Oh, listen, Facebook needs a video chat feature." They do. They need to initiate a video chat feature so we can, so it's easier for us to share video with one another, because video is a very very popular feature in any whether it's a social media network, whether it's a game. I mean, imagine somehow initiating a video chat feature in a game like World of Warcraft or an MMORPG, and at the top of everybody's character you have a little window with that person's video cam, webcam. Imagine that, how powerful that would be. And then you click on the person's character and you can hear whatever it is they're saying. That would be, I thought about that months, years before. Something like that within the game that would somehow integrate a video chat feature within a game like World of Warcraft. It's just, no matter what, video chatting is very popular, and where else would you want a video chat feature other than if you were to, simply use, a tunnel vision a tunnel vision esque view at say a Facebook or a Google Plus or whatever, where social media would be the place you would want a video chat feature initiated. You would want it there because you have all of your friends there. Everything is there. It's a social experience. That's what it is. So I'm not necessarily, this is amazing for Facebook. And I'll tell you right now, I'm happy that they have finally taken that step. Then again, they had no choice with Google Plus, literally knocking on their door in terms of features, in terms of usability, and in terms of their name being so powerful. So they had to do this.
Yeah, which means we're going to get really the benefit of both worlds if they keep doing this. So come on, Google, make up some more stuff.
Well, that's the whole point of competition. It's
just fun to watch them, though. It's like playing a tennis match.
Right. That's how that's how we envisioned it would be, and that's how it's panning out, which is what I like. I love it. That's why I love competition. It breeds innovation. It does, absolutely. So we'll follow this. We'll see where it goes. Again, slowly but surely, you'll start noticing the call button at the top of your profile. They're going to implement it slowly. A few profiles do have it, but remember, there's over 750 people, or 750 million people on Facebook. So, implementing it to every profile at once is not exactly a smart idea. So they have to implement it slowly. But once it's been integrated, you're going to notice quite a bit of people using it. And with that, they also announced an instant messaging service that allows people to chat with more than one person, which is another cool feature because this was something that I thought would have been implemented a while ago. Why wouldn't they have at least thought of this? They had an instant messaging feature for some time. How come they didn't initiate some sort of chat room feature on Facebook? That's what I want to know. It's only the single user instant messaging infrastructure that they have set up.
That's the one thing that kind of drove me nuts because it was all across the bottom of your board. You had all these conversations going on. You're trying to keep up. Why didn't they just put it into one window? You had the option of inviting people in. Yeah. That's why I was wondering. And I'm also glad they announced that, too. You're going to have people that are going to say this is the most boring announcement in the world because they thought it was going to be a huge announcement. But Facebook has to understand, people have to understand that Facebook is now going to be in a war with Google Plus. So now they have to do what they are going to do in terms of staying afloat. They don't want to lose steam. They don't want to give any motivation to Google Plus because if any motivation falls into Google Plus's hands, that's going to be huge for them because Google already has a huge user base that utilizes their search engine. Huge. So now they need to keep their head afloat here. Now, one would say in a perfect world, people would utilize both Facebook and Google Plus, and everybody could be happy. Google Plus could have 500 million users, Facebook could have its billion, and everybody's happy. But I hate to say it, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be one or the other. That's it. That's another popular debate that's going on. Why won't people use both of them? Why won't people why would you? First off, they're both competing with one another. They're copying one another. So why would you use both of them? It's like using the same thing. Who's going to add that one feature that's going to step above the opposing? Who is going to do that? That's to be determined. And without announcing it, because it seems like Google puts something out, they announce what they're going to do, and the next thing you know, boom. Right. Facebook has it. The other way around, so. Yeah. We'll find out. We will find out. We'll follow this. We'll see what happened
Now, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook's CEO, well, he took some jabs at Google's network, Google Plus, saying Facebook provides the best way, quote, for people to organize their friends into groups. So Facebook, quote, Facebook provides the best way to provide for people to organize their friends into groups, but with minimal effort. And he defended the company's one-on-one video chat, adding, quote, the vast majority of video chat is one-on-one chat. I just think this is super awesome, end quote. So we'll see what happens with this. I did want to get this out. I did because it's news. We were all anticipating what Facebook was going to be saying, and it's been announced. So we will follow this. All right,
I missed it.
Yeah, I did too. I missed. I had to look it up right before the show too. I missed the announcement as well. But thankfully for news sources, you could miss things and still, catch a grasp on what the deal is. All right, let's get into some associations here on this 294th episode of the show as we continue our countdown to the 300th show. You want to start us off with an association over there, Ronnie?
Yeah, it's in Wheeling, West Virginia. A retired, soon to be retired, he is now retired, from the university as a professor, actually graduated this year of 294 students. He was the speaker. And it was funny how he was talking about his speaker. He was like, what would you do with your language skills? He said the most important thing for a graduate to do is to improve their learning skills and speaking skills throughout their lifespan. And this is what he stated. He goes, what would you do if the president started speaking like this? Ask not like, what your country can do for you, okay? But like what, you can do for your own country. That's what he wants to get rid of. And he did that before 294 students.
Interesting. Imagine if the president did talk like that.
Yeah,
Now, our president happens to be, may not agree with his policies or anything, but he has a very articulate speech pattern. He can speak very well. And that's something you can't take away from him. He could speak very well.
Mm-hmm. So that was his speech for those students.
Yeah. But imagine,
rather well.
Yeah. But imagine if he did speak like that. Imagine if your president, see, if you would have decided between a president speaking like that but having great policy versus a president that has horrible policy but speaks very well, which one would you choose? Would you want somebody that speaks like that, or would you want somebody that speaks, very well? But you also want great policy. You want things that you agree with. You want the country to go in a direction the way you would take the country. And it's always funny to listen to people talk about how the president does this or how the president doesn't do that, and we do it too. But if we were to put ourselves in his shoes, how would we change it? Holding the country in the palm of your hands is not exactly an easy job. So clearly, that's something to keep in the back of your mind, in our minds too, when we talk, when we go into politics every now and then, and we talk about, we don't agree with what the president's doing here. Perhaps we just think, it is very difficult to make decisions that are agreed upon by the millions, by the hundreds of millions of people in the country. However, some of the decisions seem quite trivial, whereas he goes the exact opposite. And any president's going to go through that, but,
But if you had that California talk,
The California talk? Really? Okay.
I'm
not from California, but we do have listeners that are from California. No insult to any of you whatsoever.
No, I'm just going by what the professor stated.
Yeah. All right, I've got an association for you. In China, they've identified 294 solar power projects with a total generating capacity of 642 megawatts. 642 megawatts in its first pilot program. It's in beta, obviously. They spent 20 billion yen, which is $2.93 billion. And it's going to be ready to use. And this is back in 2009. So let's see. We've got about a year. They figure within a few year period. Now, I don't know exactly where they're at the time, but back in 2009, this was a beta, and I'm sure it still is, although don't quote me on that. But you notice a lot of places are trying to go this route, solar power plants. They want to be able to take They want to be able to move forward in a direction that has us depend less on fossil fuel. They want alternatives to fossil fuel. Being able to run your technology and your car and this, that, and the other thing on other forms of alternatives, whether it's hybrid vehicles, whether it's solar power plants, etc., rather than the fossil fuel that many argue is limited to how much we can drill, how much we can take, and then many argue that that's not the case. We have plenty of fuel out there. We're just not drilling to get it. So, depending on what you believe in or how you view it, where you stand on that argument, it's up to you. But of the projects, 232 with total generating capacity of 290 megawatts will be constructed by major industrial and commercial firms. And get this, the power output would be consumed by themselves. And we know that Asia is very good. China, especially, very good at innovating. Very good at innovating. And if any area around the world could do something like this to make it work, it'd be China. I'll tell you right now. And I give them all the credit in terms of that because they could do that. I'd be interested in seeing. I couldn't find anything updated to this, so I don't know. Maybe it's still in its beta stage. It clearly, as per this, it is. Maybe I'll have to check it out and so forth. But China has identified back in 2009, this is 294 solar power projects with its generating capacity of 642 megawatts of power in its first pilot program. All right, what about a funny law, Ronnie? Do you have any laws over there for us?
Bexley, Ohio. I have a city ordinance that was developed in 1919. It is ordinance number 294. It was done on 9/9/19. Okay. Now, this states that it prohibits the installation and usage of slot machines in outhouses.
Well, I guess that would be comparable to not allowing people to play poker in their houses because a slot machine...
in your outhouse.
In your outhouse, that's what it is.
In your outhouse.
Gotcha. Interesting.
So, just strictly in and out, that's it. No slot machines.
Gotcha. So I guess it would still be
equivalent to reading a magazine today.
So in other words, do not play with your slot machine while you're sitting on the can.
Yeah, don't do that.
Right.
Especially if you're in your outhouse. Now, it doesn't say anything about in your house, just not in your outhouse.
Gotcha. Interesting.
But you didn't realize it had electricity out there.
Yeah. Then this is where?
In Bexley, Ohio, in 1919.
1919. Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah. Sometimes I find it very hard to believe some of the funny laws that are brought up. But you can always look forward to what Ronnie has to present to us. That they're always going to be quite interesting in some cases, and in many cases quite unrealistic. But yes.
Like this one.
Like this one, absolutely. All right, we're going to get into Ronnie's Stamp of Reparation in just a hot moment. That is right. Ronnie will feature her Stamp of Reparation where she talks about multitude of topics, things that she doesn't necessarily agree with, things that she may be against. She just wants to rant and rave. We're going to be talking about Casey Anthony, obviously the Casey Anthony trial and so forth, the verdict and all of that. Everybody's talking about it, so we had to add at least a little something to the program. We're not going to flood you with it, though, but we will feature that in Ronnie's Stamp of Reparation in just a moment. But before we get to that, if all of you tuned in right now would be so kind and, listen to what I have to say, as this portion of the 294th episode of the show is brought to you by Audible.com, and we thank Audible for their support of the Take Two program, as well as the Voices on the Net network, and with over 85,000 audiobooks to choose from. Yeah, that's 85,000 and counting, folks. Audible's always adding great books to their service. The premier service on the web. Really, nobody's competing with them because they're the best. And Ronnie and I are both subscribers, and we enjoy it quite a bit. We're going to give you one great offer here. That I don't know how you can refuse it. No risk whatsoever. You don't have to spend a single dime. Where we'll give you one free audiobook and a 14-day, a 2-week free trial to browse the immense selection of audiobooks offered at Audible. To take advantage of this brilliant offer, you go to audibletrial.com/take2. Yeah, that's audibletrial.com/take2 to take advantage of your free audiobook and your 14-day free trial. Yes, you don't want to wait any longer, because the thing is, even if you're not an avid book reader, a reader of books, magazines, articles, more than likely you enjoy watching TV, or you enjoy watching movies, or say listening to music, or your favorite radio shows or podcasts. Well, the auditory experience comparable to that there, because you're listening to somebody read to you. You're listening to your books rather than reading them. Try it out. No risk involved whatsoever. You don't have to spend a dime. That's audibletrial.com/take2. That's one free audiobook and a 14-day free trial. You'll be glad you did. As always, we thank Audible for their generous support of the Take Two program, as well as the Voices on the Nets Network. All right, Ronnie. So, talk Casey Anthony. I know you were looking forward to talking about this. You've been following it since it started.
Since day one, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I have a problem with how right now some of those in the media that have followed this via court, 24/7, and hounded this case to death in the public sector, how they are now all of a sudden against the jury. Give me a break. The jury did exactly what they were instructed to do. I find it a fault that these same media outlets that wanted to crucify Casey, and they believed in the jury system then, until, of course, yesterday when the jury system didn't go what they thought was planned. But you know what? The jury system is what we have. If the jury votes in their favor, all of a sudden, therefore, it's the best system we have. And if they don't think they come back with the right verdict, all of a sudden, it's a poor and broken system. No, the system still works. They need to announce exactly what the jury instructions read, and the jury followed these to the nail. They actually stated three things that the prosecution had to prove. One, that Kaylee Marie Anthony was dead. We know that. That was not a given. Two, we need to know that the death occurred at the hands of the mother as some kind of a criminal act. And three, there was supposed to be a predetermination of murder. Only one of those could have been proven by the prosecution evidence.
Right.
That was it. That we know that the baby died. We don't know how, we don't know where, we don't know any of this. We just know the assumptions that the state wanted to take you through. The defense is there to protect her constitutional rights, just like if I was going to be sitting there as a defendant or you sitting there as a defendant. You want to make sure that your attorney is doing the best that they can with your case, because that's their job, is to present reasonable doubt, and they, in fact, did instill reasonable doubt within this jury. Now they're angry at the jury because they've done their job. Why are they doing that? And they're now crucifying Casey's family. There's death threats. What have we jumped to into society? We are more like a vigilante, jump on somebody's back and beat them down as fast as we can because we want to get as much of it as we can. We've got to sit back and think about this. We allow the jury to decide the case. The prosecution presented the case. These people, witnessed the same type of evidence that was instilled that I watched be put forth before the same jury. They had no problem with the jury before then. They should have no problem with the jury now. Just because the jury is not talking, they don't want to be humiliated and crucified. What's going on right now with the Anthony family? My gosh, they've lost their granddaughter. Their daughter has been it's been a crisis for 3 years, and now you want to threaten them with their lives because you didn't think the system worked? Give me a break. The media needs to step back off, and knock it off. I have seen so many of these psychiatrists come on here, I want to just puke, that have never had Kaylee or Casey in front of them to even analyze her. They only analyze her what they see in a picture, what they see, what her actions behind a defense table. That is not how you analyze anybody. And you know what? She hasn't gotten off. She did spend those 3 years in there. She's not going to be able to go anywhere. Her freedom is still going to be restricted because everybody knows. Everybody has an opinion. But you know what? Don't be taking it out on the family. Enough is enough. If you really want to go after somebody, then you know what? You have to step back and think about your own actions, because the next time it could be you that is going to be on that defense stand, and you wonder why the system didn't work for you.
Right.
So, a lot of things to consider, but remember, the jury did what they were told to
Listen, this is going to be for years and years and years and years to come a very highly assessed story. It is. It's going to be it's going to be talked about at the dinner table. It's going to be talked about over a water fountain. It's going to be talked about on radio shows. For years to come, everybody's going to have an opinion on what happened, what didn't happen, how they feel. Everybody has the right to have that opinion, of course.
Right.
But it's just the way it is going to be. It's unfortunate that Kaylee died. Absolutely, it is very unfortunate. I tell you right now that I have my own opinion as to whether or not she did it or not. You have your opinion as to whether or not Casey Anthony did it or not, and you have your own opinion. I have my own opinion. All of you have your own opinion as to whether or not the jury made the right decision or not. There's so many anomalies here. We don't know the full gif of it, and from the beginning, and we've talked. Actually, no, we haven't on the show because everybody was really going into it, and I felt, what? Since everybody's talking about it, let's stay away from it a bit because everybody knows about it already. But if we go into it right now, backtracking a bit, right when the medical examiner mentioned, well, we do not know this and we do not know that, this is where it took a turn for the worse. And you knew, if you'd have simply fast forward into the future, it was going to go the route it did. And it did. Exactly that. Not guilty. How it is. Casey Anthony's, in her mind. We don't know what's going through her mind, but if we were to just kind of analyze it a bit here, so you take it as it's come. Of course, you could be a strong supporter of our justice system. You could be highly against it. Fine. Yeah. Now there's a difference. While we do have the best justice system in the world, bar none, doesn't necessarily mean, not saying it's not the greatest or great, doesn't necessarily mean great, though, because you could simply be in your own category of bad justice systems, but you could be the best of the bad ones. You know what I mean? So there's so much that's thrown into the equation here. It really is.
So much. But the media brought out evidence that wasn't even presented into court. They got to realize the jury did not hear this evidence. They only analyzed what was put before them. That was it. The media has brought in more evidence outside of those jurors' doors that they never heard. They never talked to anybody. Remember, there was this question. So they only were able to analyze what was placed before them, and that's how they judged it. And you got to think about this, how much hype this case had from 3 years ago till now, and how many of these jurors heard this before they even took the jury box. So I think there's a plus for our system to let us know that even though that we have some negative feelings about how some people try a case in the media, that the system worked in this case to initiate, no matter how much negativity that's out there, how much media writings, the slanderous materials they put out there, that you can still get a fair trial. Right. And I think this is the bottom line here. She received a fair trial.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. This was a trial that was so profusely flaunted from the very beginning because, from the beginning, then you knew right from the beginning it was going to be televised to the very end. Because that's why people were lining up to get into the courtroom, and they couldn't get in because there were no seats available. This was something that people were following in their homes during dinner, during their working sessions, during school. I mean, this was followed by everybody, and now, Casey Anthony has quite a target on her back. She is quite possibly the most hated woman in the world right now. Absolutely. She has to live with that. She does.
That's right.
You don't. She does have to live with that. Not saying, I'm taking her side, but she has to live with that target on her back. She does.
Right. They need to accept what happened. Okay, the society needs to step back and accept this. The jury's results were. End of story. Now it's time for you to move on and live your, because she's still going to live with this. Her family is still going to have to live with this. There's still Kaylee's gone. Yeah. She's going to be under the public eye for the rest of her life. Remember O.J. Simpson. I mean, they're just going to wait for her now to break a corner to get her back in the court, just like it happened with O.J. Simpson, because they felt the verdict was wrong. Now we have, the justice vigilante to come after. But let's just step back. I mean, they are threatening the lives of people. That is not how our society is ran. We are no longer a vigilante society and need to knock it off.
Right. And
she was given the fair and just trial, and now she's got to live her life, and you need to step back.
Well, the fact of the matter is, and we're going to go to the break, but the one thing you have to fathom right here, folks, that in this country right here, in this very country of the United States of America, anybody is innocent until proven guilty, and that's the justice system. Whether somebody did it or not, it's not necessarily stating, oh, yeah, you did it. Oh, yeah, they did it. Let's put this one on death row because you think, quote unquote, think or perceive they did it or not. In this country, you may want it to be that way, but it's not. You're innocent until proven guilty. The same as you and you over there and all of you and Ronnie and I in this country.
That's right.
So that's how it is. We do have to go to the break. Thank you, Ronnie, for that. I did want to listen. I told Ronnie just yesterday we haven't talked about the Casey Anthony trial on the show. We had to add a little something to this program as per to that, but we did, and I'm glad we did go into that a bit. Ronnie would know a lot about this. This is her expertise. She specializes in law and so forth, and criminal justice, and so I'm glad that we got your word on it, Ronnie. Absolutely. But we do have to go to the break on this 294th episode of the show. What we're going to be talking about during the second segment here, and this is something that I'm glad we finally have the chance to bring this up, even though we had the chance, a couple of episodes ago, an episode ago. I just didn't add it to the itinerary. No, we're going to add it this time. We've talked about teacher evaluations before. We have, students grading their teachers, and if the students feel, oh, this teacher's not doing their job, the teacher's fired. Well, in this case, very comparable. If you're a teacher in one of the 20 states that have this evaluation system, which involves a structured observation system where I believe 4 or 5 observators will evaluate a teacher based on the test scores of students in the class. And based on this group of people, they determine whether the teacher has a job the next day or not. Is this good or is this bad? Flawed, flawless? What do you think, Ronnie? Well, we're going to get Ronnie's opinion in the second segment here. The evaluation system is called Impact, and this is an overhaul that quite a few felt was quite overdue. However, there are some that just don't feel it was overdue. They don't agree with it. We're going to touch on this. Quite a bit we want to say here. Also, maybe another topic if we have some time during the second segment. We'll see. Also, your blast from the past. So you know there's a lot coming up. You don't want to go anywhere because Ronnie and I return right after the break, folks, so stay tuned. And we're back. That is right. Ronnie and I have returned for the second segment for this 294th episode of the show. That is right. Glad to be back. Glad to have each and every one of you taking the time out of your schedules to join us. We've got quite a bit coming up on the show. Welcome back, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Yeah. We do have a lot to talk about. Nice. We're going to get to everything. We're going to get to everything, right? Yeah, I think we're going to get to everything. We'll see. Well, we'll see. No, I'm just kidding. We'll get to everything I stated we'll get to. No, we'll get to. Plus maybe something else. We'll see where we're at. But before we get to everything, if all of you tuned in right now, it'd be so kind. Please visit www.vonthenet.com. That's right, the Voices on the Net Network's website. You, the great listeners, will be able to find more information regarding this network here. All you have to do is go up to the top of the website. Yeah, click the About link. Yeah. Then you'll reach a web page that will provide you everything you need to know pertaining to this network here, the Voices on the Net Network, and in thorough detail. Yeah. So a great guide for those of you that are new to the network. You want to know a little more about it. I recommend you go there. You can also check out podcasts of any of the episodes from any of the shows, and they're also available on demand for and at your very own convenience. Check everything out by going to www.vonthenet.com. All right. So, what do you say? Yeah, let me catch my breath a bit here. You know, it's like, oh, let's just continue going and going and going. I'm a human being here, guys.
Come on, JJ.
Right? No, I'm fine. The first item on the itinerary that I do want to talk about with you here, and we've went into this before. We've talked about teacher evaluations, whether we're for or against teacher evaluations, because there are teachers out there that are awesome. There are teachers out there that are horrible. That they seem that they don't give a darn about their students, and they're still teaching 15 years later. You wonder how they have a job, and the good teachers that happen to fall to budget cuts and so forth are now without a job. That something's quite screwed up there. Until, or maybe not until, we'll see what Ronnie has to say, and I'll add my input about this. Until this year, something called Impact. President Obama did issue this in an overhaul. He wanted to focus on education. And it has to do with teacher evaluations and a group of people observating, in other words, how teachers are doing based on student test scores and just so forth. So, no, it's not necessarily the students determining whether teachers are going to be fired or not, which Ronnie and I have talked about, but it's a group of people that study how teachers are doing. Now teachers are pressured, shall I say, to do their jobs.
Yeah.
But then again, shouldn't they be pressured in the first place? If you think about it. Shouldn't they? I mean, they should be doing their job. Yeah, many would agree that teachers should make more money per year, but they decided to be a teacher in the first place. So do your job. You're the one that's structuring the future for our country and innovating in innovation and so forth. You're structuring that. You're teaching these kids.
Yeah, I'm surprised that this hasn't happened earlier, but look at every other profession that you have out there. There's always a grading system. Someone's there to evaluate how you are working. Can you pass the test? You have to have continuing education within that profession. Medical profession, any kind of profession out there requires some kind of ongoing type of information that it continues on with that. They evaluate you on your skills. They evaluate you on your ability to teach others, especially if you're in a management position. How can you lead someone? And this is the only profession that we left off the books and failed to do. Look what all the layoffs have done thus far. They've laid off people, teachers, that were either about to make tenure or were just fresh out of the list. They hurried up, and then they were the last ones. They were the first ones to go as far as the last ones hired in the process. But no one ever took the time to see, okay, where are we wasting our money and make our resources that more valuable? They did not do that. They just started laying teachers off, right and left, and no evaluation process. If the students have to come in for evaluation processes like parent teachers conferences and so forth, why do we not expect the teachers to be evaluated as well? Right.
Why the double standard? I mean, students are there learning from these teachers, teacher to student, student to teacher. What a student learns from an instructor, from an educator, they're going to pass on to people they know, and then those people are going to pass it on to them, and so forth and so forth. The teacher obviously learned from somebody, and one would argue that what somebody is taught from that teacher is crucial as to just how much they're going to retain until they either A, take an individual approach and do it themselves after school by learning the things that they failed to learn from, in their opinion, the horrible teacher, or B, get another teacher. Emily Stritzeletsky, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I may have totally tore that name up, but she's a first-year science teacher. In the New York Times article here, it was about as eager for a classroom visit by one of the city's teacher evaluators as she would be to get a tooth drilled. Now, Miss Stritzeletsky stated, quote, "It was really stressful. It stressed me out because, oh my gosh, I could lose my job." Well, perhaps... this is interesting that this quote is in this article. It is, because why would you be stressed out if you're doing your job? You know what I mean? And this is the same. The same goes for any other teacher. Okay, should it really matter whether somebody's evaluating you or not? If you're doing your job, you shouldn't have to worry about it. Now, teachers feel, well, if an evaluator is going to be studying how the teacher's teaching, how the students are doing, they're pressured now to do their job rather than just do their job the way they know how to do it. That's the kind of the curveball here.
Yeah.
Because if you were a teacher and you were being observed, you would now, or observed, you would now be forced to do well, or you're going to be fired.
Well, I wonder why they didn't have that in their mindset to begin with, because when you're before your students in your class, how many times a year, I remember sitting there in class and the principal would be there with another person listening to how the instruction was going, how the teaching was going for that class. And you were just told that they were visiting the class. When in reality, they were there to determine whether or not the teacher was fulfilling their goals as far as teaching the right stuff.
Right.
During just kind of like a shortcut evaluation is what I kind of call it, because they really didn't talk to the instructor. They just showed up in a classroom, which was basically an evaluation of the school, not particularly the teachers.
Yeah.
But I do know here that a friend of mine who happens to be a teacher in one of the worst areas of Omaha, they're under a struggle because here she's been a teacher for, I think, 11 years now. But she spent 4 years rather, under another teacher. So she was a student nurse or a student teacher for 4 years, learning, adapting, how she was going to go out and change the curriculum, how she would adapt to the students. And then she finally got a role to where she was able to do it on her own, that she had gotten those specific amount of hours in. Now she's on her own. But you know what? The parents aren't assisting the teacher either. She's had to go out and buy school supplies for the students. She's actually got out and bought clothes for the students. When it comes time for parent-teachers conferences, the parents don't show up. And if they get a bad grade, the parents are the first ones there to chew the teacher out.
Right.
So I see a two-way street here, but I think the bigger issue is that we need to evaluate the teachers just like we would evaluate a student to determine if they are able to go on to the next grade.
Well, yeah, this is the other factor here, yet another factor, I should probably say. Those that teach in areas that are maybe less fortunate to in other words, students are less fortunate to have the same amenities that students in maybe more wealthy areas have, where parents now have to, they can't purchase the school supplies. So the teachers are now forced to do that, perhaps, in order for the students to do well, so the teachers could get a great evaluation. They feel that they have a bigger burden than teachers in a more wealthy area. That teachers are now forced to babysit these students because maybe they don't have anywhere to go. If they don't have anywhere to go, they don't have a place to go. Like, maybe they're home because they can't get home because the parents are working, or they don't have, or just whatever it may be. The teachers now have to make a decision. Do we, A, allow the student to leave the school and hang out on the street and wherever, or do I keep them here until the parents get home? Now, this is where the transitional stage comes in. A transitional factor comes in because are you going to hold teachers that have a bigger burden on their shoulders the same? I'm talking about the same in terms of accountability as somebody that is teaching in a school that involves students that are more wealthy, are more fortunate to have the supplies, amenities, and not as many issues that could turn into problems as schools that are less fortunate, with students that are less fortunate. If you think about it, should there be a transitional factor added to that?
I think so.
Really? Yeah.
I think they should, because you're trying to teach somebody, a student, and the parents, if they show up, are fighting against you. So, you're kind of stuck in between in those areas, because I know that with her, they were mostly single-parent households. The majority of the fathers were either in prison or getting ready to go to prison. They were absentee fathers. The mothers either had other problems that were going on at the time, and the children were basically raising themselves. They came to school for food. They came to school for that time, not actually a learning time. So it did become, in her case, for 2 years that she was there, much less like a daycare center, versus a learning center, because you couldn't force it upon the kids, because if you did, then the parents would retaliate against you. Why are you making my child do this? So I think there's a different area and stance as to being graded, but I think that you can take multiple layers into account. So if you're having that issue going on, and such as her, you're going to weigh that with your evaluation. But are you teaching the curriculum? Are you teaching it correctly? How are you teaching the curriculum? Have you met the goals? Every school should have a goal. Every teacher should have a goal. How are they meeting these goals at the end of the year? That make sure that every student meets this criteria. And then during those short-term goals, you may have to revamp it. You may have to change it. You may have to call a group counseling session end to end to find out where you went wrong, to get right back on track, to get towards that main goal. A lot of times schools don't do that. It's just a normal process. You're in, you're out, that's it. And some get on to the next grade and they didn't really learn anything.
Right. See, teachers that, and it's surprising that that there are teachers still enthused to become what they've wanted to become their whole lives, because they want to make change. They want to initiate change in the people they're teaching, the students they're teaching. And that's great. It's great that they want to do that. You have a lot of great teachers out there, but you have a lot of horrible teachers out there. Those that are aspiring, that want to become a teacher, they've wanted to become a teacher ever since they were younger. Those are the teachers that are going to be great. Those are the teachers that are going to do it more for the passion, and the money is just an incentive, because clearly there's just not a lot of money in teaching anyway. Yeah. So clearly that plays a major role in it. But talking about how there can be, say, problems here with these evaluators, with these observers. I mean, they're observating based on what they're observing or observating based on what they see. Are they experts in the public school infrastructure? Do they know all about the maybe the pedagogical expertise of the infrastructure of a public school, for instance? Do they know the curriculum, from front to back? Do they know all about these other factors that play a massive role in the teacher teaching these students? What makes you, all right, let's evaluate this teacher that doesn't seem like they're doing their job here, but you don't know what the students in that class did to study or prepare for that test. Is it all on the teacher here? How are they going to assess the teachers? Now, you would think 5 can talk amongst themselves. You hope they're all experts within the field. I think, what's an expert? How do you determine what an expert's going to be? What credentials are they going to have? What makes them a master evaluator? What gives them that credential? What gives them the credentials to do that? You know what I mean? So, do they have?
Hope that they're teachers,
right? You would hope so, but what makes you think that they're all going to be just that?
True.
I mean, that's the thing. That's why, there are teachers that are going to be against this. There are going to be teachers that aren't against this, because they know they're doing their job regardless of whether there's an evaluation going on. They're you know what? Listen, I've had teachers that have been bad. I've had teachers that have been good. If a teacher that's great happens to maybe notice there are a few kids in their class that are maybe struggling, even though the teacher is great, there's more than just simply teaching. There's having a great personality. The teacher is going to get a good mark from a student that's failing, getting a D, a C, or whatever, or an A. Regardless, the student's still going to love the teacher, because the student can interact with the teacher without having to worry about the teacher maybe, quote-unquote, teaching too much in terms of being maybe a bureaucratic teacher. In other words, somebody that goes by the rules quite too much. Now, with an evaluation, you would say, well, then maybe they should go by the rules quite a bit here. No, I don't think they should go by the rules as much as maybe some of you may think they should because of an evaluation. Because teaching is so much more than just simply instructing a student to do this or do that, or teach them what's in a textbook here. It's maybe shaping a student to become a good citizen in society, because after all, the teachers are structuring our future, if you think about it. The teachers are not only teaching them about math and about George Washington and about chemistry and this, that, and the other thing. there's more than just teaching than just reading them a textbook. Way more than that.
Yeah, you have to encourage your students. I mean, you have to think about, granted, these things have to be learned at a specific time frame because they put so much into 1 year that has to be taught. But I think it depends on how the teacher is going to express that. If you're going to sit in a classroom with the kids and all they're going to do is the same thing over and over and over, you're sitting at the chair, right, 8 hours, 7 hours a day, get them out. Mm-hmm. Try to, encourage them to be more an active participant. This is a dual relationship here. We can do this two different ways.
Right.
This is how
How
it's
can you
end.
motivate them, in other words? How can you motivate your students? If your students aren't motivated, yet you're still teaching them the way you've learned how to teach, are you doing your job to the fullest extent? Is there a reason why your students aren't motivated? How can you get to that step? That's another challenge, and I think teachers should have to focus on that aspect. Absolutely. Motivation is important in the classroom.
Outside of the original box, we already know what does not work. Stay away from that plain Jane, narrow road and expand upon that. I know that I learned more from a teacher when they took us outside. So you got rid of that classroom environment. Now you were outside for science. You were outside. You were looking for things. So you were more involved into that. All of your senses were involved into it. Plus, you were out of the four walls. You were not taught just in there. They brought other things in there with you. Bigger projects that required groups, so you were able to work with them out there. You were able to improvise your own skills as a student. And the teacher, would give you an idea. You'd follow through with it as a group thinking process versus sitting at your desk, the test taking, the reading, and all of that going on when you actually can utilize outside forces to increase motivation. Right.
No, I just I think that seeing that you're structuring the future there, future workers, future citizens, and so forth, applying the content you're teaching to these students to, say, real world situations is important, because when you notice a teacher that's adding to their curriculum, to their itinerary, things that are regularly portrayed on the news or regularly portrayed in the media, or they're taking certain factors from pop culture, favorite musicians, favorite actors and actresses, basketball teams, football teams, things that are going on in the world that don't necessarily have to go on in the classroom, but at the student's house. All they have to do is flip on their TV or go on the computer and see it. Initiate social media into the curriculum. Do this. All of these things that are in these students' lives play a role in your classroom, and construct something around that, or construct it around your itinerary. I think that's huge, and I think that should definitely. I mean, if you're going to teach, if I were a teacher, I would absolutely do that. I would absolutely apply the itinerary to real-world situations. Absolutely.
I mean, we did that when I was in school. When President Clinton was on there running for office, we were able to call in. We had the government class. We were all taking different roles, so you learn the different roles of the government, and we actually got to talk to different members of his cabinet before they became his cabinet. They were just they were helping with his presidential campaign. But we were able to discuss with that, so we were able to actually get past the Constitution of the United States and work through that to where instead of you're reading a book over and over, you're not really getting a whole lot out of it because it's not instilled in there. There's nothing there to block it, to keep it in you, to keep you more interested. I mean, government's a pretty boring subject when you're 8th grade. And that actually improvises because you were able to talk to these people that you would see later on that night on TV.
Right. No, listen, I'm not against teacher evaluation. I'm not, because I think teachers should teach. I really do. I think teachers should want to teach, and weeding out the ones that are doing what they're not supposed to be doing is good. And I think what this evaluation can do is weed out those that simply do not want to be there, and simply place those that maybe were laid off and give them their jobs back. Because I think trying to figure out a system to do that is important. Devise a system, because there are a lot of unfortunate scenarios where there are state budget cuts and good teachers do not have a job anymore, but the bad ones do. So how can you, on a state-by-state basis, devise a plan or a scenario or an infrastructure that gets rid of the bad teachers and gives the good teachers their jobs back? And I'm talking on a state-by-state basis. I'm not going to say this is going to be easy, because it's not. But I think teacher evaluations that are more lenient than maybe the trivial way it probably would be normally, because we don't know exactly how the evaluations are conducted, but we can guess that they're either very staunch, very strict, or lenient. Well, I would hope they would be a bit more lenient, where you would maybe you would associate amongst one another. If you're a master evaluator, one that's evaluating a teacher, you would at least, take other accounts and so forth. You would take this into account. You would take that into account. And not only necessarily assess the teacher, but assess the surroundings too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's easy to detect a teacher that anybody really in their job that is only there for a paycheck.
Right.
But they're not there to receive the paycheck based on the actions that they're doing. They're just there because they want a paycheck. That's it. And they're not going to go out of their way. I think that should be part of the curriculum as far as judging a teacher. How much do they go out of their way for these kids in the learning process? I mean, I hope that the panels don't go in there and kind of like just, you're sitting down there, now you're going to be interrogated. That's not going to work. That's going to put anybody on the fire, and that's going to cause even create a bigger mess. I mean, they're going to come in the classrooms and visualize what the teacher's doing, and then later on evaluate that, have a face-to-face, one-on-one talk with the teacher to determine where the teacher wants to go, where they've been, how they intend on changing something, ask them particular questions of what their view is, what they think the view is of the future as a teacher, where they are at, what changes they want to make.
Right.
I think it's an overall process, but just to grade on one thing probably is not going to get an idea, because a lot of different areas have different types of students. And parent involvement, there's some schools that parents are there continually all the time. Other times they are not. The teachers become the parents. So that has to be taken into context.
Right. Now, in this, before we move on to the next item, in this article here going into the evaluation system, which happens to lean heavily on student test scores to judge, say, math and reading teachers in grades 4 through 8. It also talks about some other observations here, some criteria. Explain content clearly. Does the teacher explain the content clearly? In other words, are they simply reading the content from a book, or are they reiterating what's being stated in the book? There's a big difference between that. For instance, I'll put Ronnie and I here as an example. I'll use us as an example here. When we're talking about a subject, a topic here on the show, you'll note when we're talking about, or we base a lot of our discussions off of, say, articles and studies, we will reiterate to make you understand it hopefully clearer than what is being stated in the article. There will be parts of it I'll read, but I'll reiterate based on whatever it is I'm reading. Ronnie will do the same. We like to reiterate. Our teachers doing that. That's important, absolutely, I think. Maximizing instructional time. How about checking for student understanding? How many times did you feel you were left out when everybody else was moving along in their classes, and you felt this is just not happening? I'm not understanding what the teacher's saying. Are they paying attention to those students that feel that way? Very important there. These observations, some of these observations. And again, we only know so much. We don't know the full gif of the evaluation. It's called impact, and I'd like to find more about it. But it goes into really assessing how a teacher is doing their job. But again, I think there's a lot more to this in weeding out the bad teachers and implementing the good teachers back into their profession that they love. Because there are teachers that feel that this system is better, say, at sorting and firing teachers than it is at helping struggling ones. Well, one may feel that way, where another may feel, say, well, this is a system or some sort of evaluation would be able to sort through the good and bad teachers and give those that have no jobs but did have a job but are good teachers, give them their jobs back, sorting through the bad and good ones. That there's two sides to that specific factor there that I just mentioned. Some educators that state it is better at sorting and firing teachers than helping the struggling ones. So note how there are multiple factors here that play a role in this evaluation.
Which is good. Now, if you just keep the unions out of it, it'd be a different story because they want to keep everybody on regardless. I think once you've joined a union, just regardless of whether or not you have a teacher on your badge, all of a sudden now that you are good to go and you cannot be fired. That's where I think we've gotten really wrong when you have the teachers union stepping into play and preventing. Maybe that's why we haven't had an evaluation process. It's because of that the union forbid it. And now within the budget crunch times, instead of keeping the ones that are earning bigger bucks versus those that are keep earning the smaller bucks, they're just kind of alternating it around, regardless if the one maybe the one that made the bigger bucks was a better teacher, more experience. Maybe they need to improvise more experience on the training of a teacher, because I've known some teachers, they graduate from college and boom, immediately they're already teaching a class, but they've not been evaluated. They've not gone through the training process. They've not been a mentor. Nothing. It's just from boom to boom, and then there they are right before a class.
Absolutely. Glad we did go into this here. Like I said, I've wanted to go into it for a few episodes here. Glad I did add it to the itinerary. Ronnie and I added it because very interesting, because we've talked about teacher evaluations in the past and so forth. We're going to get into another itinerary briefly, or another item on the itinerary briefly here, before heading into your blast from the past. I said, if we had some time, we'd add this extra one here. Are you too shy to go to the bathroom? Are you? Well, bathroom stage fright, it might be an actual real condition. How many times have you been in school or at your job and you can't go to the bathroom because there are people around? It's a public bathroom. You're afraid if somebody's in there, you have to go number 2. You can't go, so you hold it in. That can't be good for you, can it? Nah. I'm sure many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Bathroom stage fright. We're going to be talking about this briefly. There's a bit of information surrounding this, so we'll touch on this, as well as your blast from the past. So still quite a bit coming up. But before we get into all of this good stuff, it is time to thank our sponsor. That is right, this portion of the 294th episode of Take Two is brought to you by Audible.com. And we thank Audible for their generous support of the Take Two program, as well as the Voices on the Net network. Now listen up, ladies and gentlemen, because Ronnie and I have an excellent deal, a great offer for each and every one of you, and you don't have to spend a single dime. Nope, no risk whatsoever involved. We're going to give you one free audiobook and a 14-day free trial to browse over 85,000 audiobooks and counting, always adding great audiobooks to their service. This is Audible, folks, the premier service on the web. One free audiobook and a 14-day, a 2-week free trial. Go to audibletrial.com/take2 right now. Check it out, audibletrial.com/take2. You'll be glad you did, because the chances are you miss when your mommy and your daddy read you a book when you were about to go to sleep. Admit it, you do. The thing is, the auditory experience is one in itself to experience, and you have 14 days and a free audiobooks to do so. audibletrial.com/take2. You'll be glad you did. As always, we thank Audible for their support of the Take Two program, as well as the Voices on the Net network. Thank you, Audible, for your support. We appreciate it a lot. All right. Are you Ronnie, have you ever had this before where you're too shy to use the bathroom if there are people around? Do you have that, or do you happen to be, oh gosh, I hope she's shy when she does this. It would not sound right if she wasn't. She didn't hear that. Neither did you. But
I am shy.
Yeah. I think a lot of people know exactly what this is all about. Me too. Me too, when I was younger. Not so much anymore, but when I was younger, though. I still do at times, though. You know, I'll be conscientious when I'm about to go to the bathroom. Who's in there? Ooh.
Yeah.
You know? But then again, it depends also on how bad I have to go, too. Sometimes if you have to go really bad, you just don't give a damn. But the thing is, that's not everybody. Even if you have to go bad, you'll still be scared. You'll crap your pants even. It's a condition now. And 20 million people in North America have this problem. You believe that?
I'm not alone, but I haven't done that in my underwear or anything like that. But I usually, if I go out, I won't drink nothing, because I don't want to use the bathroom in public. I wait till I get home.
Yeah. If you were given the choice, if you could teleport and you were at school, you're sitting in the class, you still have 4 hours to go until the school day's over. You can't go home until 4 days unless you run home, or you go to the nurse's office and have your mom or your dad pick you up. But just use this scenario here. You have 4 hours left in the day. You're in your classroom. You have to go to the bathroom bad, but you don't want to go because you're shy. So what do? So if you were given the choice to teleport to go home, obviously you would. You would prefer your home bathroom, clearly, because it's yours. You're used to it. It's yours. It's just you. So you'd be surprised how many people will. I'm telling you right now. If you have a car in high school, will take their car home to go to the bathroom and then go back to school. There were a few people when I was in high school that did that. I'm dead serious. They would leave school to go to the bathroom. But yeah, same at work. You would literally take the time to go home, use the bathroom, and then come back. Now, this is kind of going both ways here because there's 20 million people in America that are nervous to pee rather than the other way around. But I'm using both of them here. People with a shy bladder, this is a real condition, also known as paresis, and they're fearful of urinating when other people are around them, when they're nearby. They just can't do it. But the more serious thing that's occurring while they're doing this, they're holding it in, and it's not good for health reasons. They're actually damaging their bladder. They're damaging their insides when they're doing that. Same as holding it in the other way around. That's not good. It's not good.
It's not, but it's also, okay. For instance, being in the military and any other big time training like that, you don't have doors. It's so embarrassing. You just, everyone's got the same thing you do, sort of, but you don't want no one to know what you're doing in there. They have no doors, no walls. It's just that. And when I was going to school, when you mentioned about driving home, yeah, I would go because my house wasn't too far from the school, and that's the first place I'd go. Go there and come right back to school.
Right. Right. Somebody by the name of Brian Beatty, who is a 51-year-old machine shop manager from Munster, Indiana, stated, quote, "Probably my worst experience was going to the Brickyard 400, which is a NASCAR race, popular 400-mile NASCAR race, with coworkers and customers, and holding it in for 14 hours. Ouch.
Ouch.
While this sounds incredible, this is an everyday reality for individuals with a shy bladder." So true. Beatty further explains, I want to add this, and this is from the article in MSNBC here, that the two most common avoidance techniques used by those with a quote-unquote bashful bladder are to limit fluid intake and to hold it in until you can reach a safe bathroom. Yeah, quote-unquote safe bathroom. And so many people do this. So many people have that fear of using the bathroom. And you'd be surprised how long you could hold it in if you want to. But note that you're holding it in for that long, it ain't good while you're doing it. That you're holding it in, you're doing everything in your power to hold it in. It's like, for instance, you're on the road, right? And you have to go badly the other way. You know what I mean. And you're about to literally go in your pants. You can't handle it anymore. You're still 5 miles from home. There's lights. There's traffic. What are you going to do? You get home. You haven't went in your pants yet. Why? Your brain knows. It's like it knows. You can do it. You can do it. It knows. I truly believe psychologically, physiologically, you can hold it in if you want to. Doesn't necessarily mean it's good for you. How many times have you been in that scenario, though? You're in the car and you have to go, and you're so far from home. So close yet so far, even. And
I know.
You hold it in and you make it. Just make it. Literally. You get into the bathroom and it explodes. You're like, to the point. I know we're getting dirty here, but it's the end of the show, and that's okay. Have some fun here.
I had, especially when I've gone through from New Jersey driving back here to Missouri for vacation or TDY points. That was tough because I was afraid. I think what scared me about going to the bathroom on the road is that I know a little boy that was killed in one of those truck stop bathroom things.
Right.
And I know how he was killed, and it just scares me to death to even stop in these places to go. So I will avoid them like crazy. Now, if there's maybe a nice place that looks nice and it's kind of, got some people around or something, I might go into it. Let's say McDonald's, for instance.
Right.
But no, any other time, heck no. I am saying on that road, I won't even drink anything, nothing, until I get close enough to home, and then I will.
Well, there's a paradigm right there that Ronnie just brought up. Being scared because you've heard of stories in truck stops where people are injured or killed. Right then and there, a paradigm that we use here. You won't go to the bathroom because of that. All of these things, and that's only one out of many, folks, that literally keep people from using public bathrooms. They don't want to. And there are over 20 million in America alone, North America alone, that suffer from bathroom stage fright. They do not want to use a public bathroom. They're nervous. And even if they were to, they have trouble going. They can't go. It won't come out. Yet they have to go so bad. It's like, oh, there are people around. If there are people around, you can't go. So there are two sides to this. A, you won't go because you'll hold it in. Or B, you'll go, but you can't go because it won't come out. So
your kabuti knows. Believe me, it knows.
Well, I'm talking about number one more than number two. Number two, probably even more easier than number one. Number one is, at least for guys, and I've had this problem where I'll stand there for 5 minutes trying to go, and I can't because there are other people around. This was a while ago, but I could tell you. I don't know if it's the same.
Yeah, but you guys are all looking at each other.
Yeah.
You guys got these urinal thingies hanging on the wall.
Well, that's why it might be even harder for guys because you guys have a stall. We can use a stall if we want, but the urinals are there for a reason. You don't want to take up, believe me, you don't want to take up a stall when there is a urinal there if you have to go number one, because if there is somebody that has to go number two, well, you just don't want to witness that. So they could take the stall and you'll take the urinal.
Okay.
Definitely.
So there is a reason.
Well, admit it. Would you rather take up the last stall if somebody comes in that actually has to go number two? Well, no, I don't think so because, well, where else are they going to go? Uh-oh.
Well, I always wondered where they just they offered you guys, doors and then no doors.
Well, the urinals are for number one and the stalls are for number two. How hard is that to understand?
Because, see, we have one.
Well, because you don't have a way to stand and go to the bathroom, though. You guys are different.
But I always wondered, why that was. You explained it. Why, there was. You guys had separate.
Well, you knew it was called a urinal, didn't you? You knew it was called a urinal, didn't you?
Yeah, but why? If you had doors, optional, I'd take those.
Well, you would take those, and you have the choice to take those. The urinal is just there because we can stand and pee at the, while you guys may be able to, but it's a bit difficult for you. Maybe you won't be able to get it all in the urinal. Where a male has the Audi, and it's easier for us to do that. That's just really how that is. Let's go into more of these statistics here, talking about bathroom stage fright, and talking about some of these numbers here. 80 to 90% of sufferers can get considerably better through cognitive behavioral therapy. Get that, folks. Which gradually, no, not necessarily get it, but just understand it, which gradually exposes people to their feared situation in small steps. Now, the author of The Shy Bladder Syndrome, a book, the guy's name is Steven Soifer, and he is quite familiar with this fear here. He suffered in silence with shy bladder for 3 decades before stumbling upon an article about it in a women's magazine. Now, these days, Soifer, who's an associate professor at the University of Maryland School of Social Work in Baltimore, he's working to raise awareness of the issue as CEO of the International Paresis Association, which is a nonprofit educational organization that he founded over 15 years ago. So, The Shy Bladder Syndrome, a book, and so forth. Steven Soifer states 80 to 90% of sufferers can get considerably better through cognitive behavioral therapy. Very interesting.
Yeah, could be just because people are the germs that are in the bathrooms are scared of that. You've got those homophobics.
So many other factors that are added to this. Absolutely, I wouldn't doubt it whatsoever. All right, I wanted to briefly go into that, but now it is time to head into the past. That is right, Ronnie and I and all of you, we take the time machine into a past discussion. One of the many that Ronnie and I have delved into, and we'll provide you with that little part of that. of that discussion. So, Ronnie, what do you say we take this time machine into the past with the listeners and go to a past discussion? Wanna?
I wanna.
All right, here we go, folks. Episode number 294. Our countdown continues to the 300th episode show. This is your blast from the past. Enjoy. We have another case here where a college student just getting ready to graduate cannot partake in his commencement ceremony because of a Facebook post. Darn Facebook, darn social media. If it weren't for Facebook, he would be partaking in the commencement ceremony. Darn it. But the thing is, Ronnie, his name's Roman Capel. He doesn't know what Facebook post it was because they won't be specific. They won't be specific. So, yeah, something doesn't seem right here.
Yeah, where's the dean at in this place? Here you have St. Augustine's that actually teaches some of the political science classes, which guess what? Involves law. They cannot figure out that, for you to be banned from something, that means punishment. To be punishment and restricted means you need to know what it is that you're being accused of. That's in any place, including if you're being accused from a school, after all, not being able to graduate with your class that you worked so hard to be with in the first place. And they can't come up with a reason other than Facebook. What are they doing on Facebook? He has a right to talk about what he wants to talk about on Facebook, and
right.
So far for what they've posted, I don't see anything wrong with what he wrote.
Well,
so if that's the post they're complaining about, come on.
Well, yeah, there's one post in question here that he thinks the school is referring to, but he doesn't know again because the school won't be specific for some reason. So that leads many of us to believe that maybe they're overreacting, and now they are realizing that because they are not telling this kid which one it is for some reason. Or, in other words, they feel they don't need to make a point. They don't need to be specific as to which one it is because it's their decision as to whether or not somebody partakes in any ceremony whatsoever because it's the school's decision. But regardless, this kid is just about ready to graduate college, and he can't because of some Facebook post. It's the same situation as before, Ronnie. We talked about the kid that was about to graduate high school, and he can't go to his prom because of something he did. This kid's a senior, and he can't go to his commencement ceremony because of a Facebook post. It's like, whatever happened to the exception that proves the rule? Whatever happened to that? What?
It's gone. Yeah. It's completely gone. Why would they were looking at his Facebook in the first place? I mean, if he makes a comment, it was also made to individuals as well, and so they're trying to think that he's kind of enticing a situation. Well, what situation? You cannot sit there and state, well, you cannot go to your prom or to your graduation because you wrote something. Well, he has a right to write what he wants to write on there. He didn't slam the school, from my understanding. Even the school doesn't even know what it was. It's students, and I'm pretty sure if it was somebody else that noticed it on there, would they also be part of it because you would hit like or share or comment on it? Nobody seems to know. Not even his friends.
Right? Nobody knows, it seems like. It's sounds very controversial to me.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I'm a goofball. What can I tell you? Anyhow, there's your blast from the past for this 294th episode of the show. I'm like trying to do things over here, and the blast from the past is ending, and I'm like, I better get in front of the mic here. But yeah, how's that? Not being able to partake in your commencement because of a Facebook post. Not having.
I better stay away from Facebook for a while.
Yeah, if you're in college, yeah. And Ronnie's just about to graduate, so she better not do anything she shouldn't do. Or really, well, why shouldn't she have an opinion? Well, maybe she doesn't want to chance it. How's that? All right, that's all the time we have for this 294th episode of the show. Yet another episode down. 6 more to go until we're at the 300th episode. Yeah. Wow, very close. Can't wait for the next one with you, Ronnie. We have always quite a bit to talk about, and we look forward to each and every one of you joining us for the next one. Until then, we do have to say so long for now. Take care. Much love to you all. Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.